We're joined by Republican Senator from North Carolina, Ted Budd, who serves on both the Senate Armed Services and Intelligence Committees. Senator, so appreciate you joining us tonight. President Trump just extended a 2-week ceasefire with Iran that was set to expire tomorrow. Trump says that the blockade will continue and said part of the reason for the extension was the government of Iran is very fractured. Yesterday, as you know, the president said it was highly unlikely he would extend the ceasefire. What do you think changed?
Well, look, I mean, we don't know who we're dealing with. I mean, you have the guys with the suits and then you have the guys with the guns, and obviously they haven't been on the same page. The president wants to resolve this diplomatically and quickly, if possible, but let's get this thing done, extend the ceasefire if you need to, figure out on one page who we're dealing with in Iran, and then let's get our troops home. But we have to resolve this decisively and make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear strike capability. That's what they've been threatening for years, and we want to make sure that never, ever happens.
President Trump has said several times that their capabilities have been obliterated. So do we still have concern that they may have the possibility of having a nuclear weapon?
We do, because, I mean, they absolutely need to be militarily crushed. And we have to make sure that that's happening, because what we don't want is them to start rebuilding once again, get supplies from elsewhere, other countries, other adversaries around the world, and start all over again. We don't want to have to do this again. Let's finish this. And let's, nobody in the United States wants a prolonged war. If you look back at the results of the 2024 election, President Trump was very clear. He does not want a prolonged war. We don't want these forever wars anymore. But I think what he's doing right now is actually promoting peace.
The Trump administration has said that they want $1.5 trillion in additional funding for the war. Do you think that Congress should approve this level of funding?
Look, I think we have to look very specifically at what this is. We're starting to ask a lot of questions. What's in this? How is it spent? How are you going to allocate it? How does this make us safer? How are we going to pay for it? So we've got real questions. Of course, we want to support our military, and we want to make sure that every dollar that we spend is responsible to the taxpayer and makes our country greater. I think that's the president's agenda, but we want to know exactly what's in this package.
Switching gears here, I want to play for you what President Trump said this morning on CNBC in a phone interview when talking about NATO.
Well, the ones that aren't helping are NATO. NATO said to me, no, we'll send somebody as soon as it's over. I said, that's not really, we don't need them. We'll never need them, actually. They'll need us. They need us desperately because they're a paper tiger.
The chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Republican Roger Wicker, said today it's not helpful when American leaders speak of our alliances with derision. Do you agree with the committee chair?
Look, I work great with both of them. I work great with President Trump. I work great with the committee chair, but I understand what the president's trying to do. Let's get these allies to step up. If you go back to the Trump first term, 2017, hardly any of the 36 members of NATO, actually there's a few less at that point, hardly any of those members were even paying their required 2%. He was a single person to get them to step up, do more of their GDP committed to defense spending, which made Europe safer. And then Trump won. He's gotten them up to 5%, but they've finally taken their own defenses seriously. And now they're turning a blind eye. Many of them are. We've got some partners and allies there inside of NATO, but when it comes to Iran, but finally he has gotten them to step up. And we just need help in dealing with this major destabilizing factor of Iran.
The war has caused fuel and fertilizer prices to go up for farmers across the country. You grew up on a farm in rural North Carolina and represent farmers in your state. Are you concerned that if things don't change for farmers and, of course, those gas prices don't go down, that Republicans will face a major loss in the midterms?
It's a concern for everyone. We want gas prices to go down, and this is planting season for a lot of farmers. I've been out in the eastern part of the state, the western part of the state. I've talked to these farmers as recent as the last 2 weeks. I've been on their farms, and it's really concerning as we move to planting and then into fertilizing about the inputs that go into those fertilizers, particularly natural gas, and it's expensive. But what are you going to do? I mean, you're not going to not plant this season. So it's a huge concern. But I think once we get on the other side of this as quickly as possible, we can begin to lower these prices.
Senator Budd, so appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.